everybody, it's Safi and Marco, dish out on the movies. And guess what? Today we're going to do something different. It's not a movie. We are reviewing a book, a children's book. Maybe Marco doesn't want me to say that, but it's not a regular 600-page, 500-page book. It's a book by R.L. Stine, and it's his latest Slappyworld book. And it is called Slappy in Dreamland. Is that it, Marco?
Yeah.
And it came out yesterday. So we decided he's been reading all the Goosebumps books, and he decided, well, why don't we review this new book that just came out? I said, okay. So we both read it, or we listened to it on audiobooks from Hoopla, through Hoopla, which is a library book site. And so, like I said, this is in the Slappyworld series. So Slappy is a magical evil puppet.
Safi,
And
follow my finger. Follow my finger, Safi. Okay, now let's review the book and stop fooling around. Okay, this book, it's all about a boy. How old is the boy, Safi? How old?
He's 12.
Oh, wow. Oh, so he's not a high school student.
No, not even close.
Oh, interesting. And he's a little 12-year-old, and his name is Richard, and he's sleeping over all the time with Willow.
What?
Willow is sleeping with him. Willow's sleeping.
What are you talking about?
Willow is his. What is Willow?
Willow is his cousin, and she's
No,
staying with the family because her parents are doing
Safi.
something somewhere. I don't know what he's trying to imply. They're 12 years old. They're cousins. They're friends. What in the heck?
But Safi, what cousin is she?
Probably his first cousin. Which means that one of the parents is a brother or sister to her parents.
So you have Richard and his first cousin Willow.
I don't know what the deal about. That's so funny. Anyway, he has the Slappy puppet doll, and they actually have just moved to the area. Richard has. And he just started going to the school. He doesn't know that many people, and
he does.
And he also says he's shy.
He does know his first cousin. And he's not very shy around his first cousin, Willow.
What are you doing?
What are you talking? I'm talking about the plot here, and you're like,
Marco,
okay, so he goes to school, and it's
you're
like, well,
implying something
no,
negative.
I don't know what you're talking about, Safi. What could be a negative implication about?
I don't know. They're having an affair at 12 years old or something. They're both 12 because they're in the same class.
It was just oddly specific that R.L. Stine had to mention Willow is his first cousin.
I don't understand it. I don't know what's so funny. I don't find it funny at all.
Okay. Okay, so we have Richard and his first cousin Willow, and he's a shy little twerp, and he's got a mom and a dad, which I find that very interesting. You know, it's nice to see that books nowadays still have families with a father and a mother. You know, that's really nice.
Because there are families like that. So.
And the mom works at the sleep laboratory where she helps people go to sleep who have trouble sleeping, and she studies them. You know, she watches them sleep.
Well, they have trouble sleeping. That's why they're going to the sleep lab.
I hope.
And so they analyze their sleep habits.
I hope that she checks in on Richard and Willow when they're sleeping to make sure they're not having trouble sleeping.
I just don't understand what's so funny. No clue.
Okay, so Richard goes there, and
It's Take Your Child to Work Day.
yeah,
So her work, actually happens all night. It's not a typical place. And he brings Slappy with him.
he has Slappy the dummy,
and he's just Slappy the dummy.
The one thing is I can't remember how they found Slappy, because there's always a cool little story of, where did you get Slappy? In the first book, you had these two twin sisters, and they're dumpster diving behind a haunted house. And that's where they found Slappy, which, that was a really cool little story.
Well, I think the dad got it for him, but I don't...
There's something about he found it in his work or something, and I just wish I could remember it, because
I think it was in a closet or something.
It was just there.
They think he thought somebody had left it behind, like previous owner or a cleaner.
Slappy found out, he said, I want to go haunt this Richard and his first cousin. And so Richard has Slappy, and he takes him to the lab with his mom, and they're doing experiments where they hook up electrodes to people like Frankenstein, and he asks his mom to indulge him and hook them up to Slappy and him. And everything goes terribly wrong from there, as you can imagine. And first off, there's a lot of points that I have to make in this video. No more of them revolve around Richard and his first cousin.
I don't know why they would at all. So. Come on, Marco.
Safi, you gotta admit, that's pretty funny.
No, I don't find it funny at all. I don't understand humor at all.
Okay.
No, I don't.
But actually, one thing... Well, okay, let's just do a little mini general review and then give a rating and do spoiler central. I would say that this book was actually a really good book. It was surprisingly good. Like, I would expect for his books to be bad right now, because based on the new movies that came out, where Goosebumps has become, like, for babies, it's become so childish. I would expect, oh no, are his Goosebumps books more childish too? But surprisingly, they're not. They have a nice balance of darkness and light, and they're just nice little kids' books. And I think that the great thing about this one is that it doesn't ever have a part where it feels boring. Like, the whole book is just non-stop. Stuff happens. It's non-stop fan service. Like, this whole book, this is like Nightmare on Elm Street meets Slappy. In a good way. And I really like the book. I would highly recommend it. I don't know if I would read it again soon, but I would definitely read it again in the future, for sure. It's way better than a lot of the old Goosebumps books that I read in terms of the plot. Like, it's not repetitive. The characters are pretty good. So I really like it. It's got some great things about it. When I heard the concept that it would be all about Slappy invading people's dreams, I was going to make another joke, but not with Safi around. When Slappy invades dreams, I thought, what would be really cool is, with this general concept, Slappy could actually invade the dreams of kids who escaped in previous Night of the Living Dummy books. And I thought, wouldn't it be cool if you saw the twin sisters from the first Night of the Living Dummy, if they're still alive, that is. Because we never found out what happened to them. But wouldn't it be cool if they were still alive, and then all of a sudden they start dreaming about Slappy? I mean, that'd be so cool. It'd be so cool to get a sequel like that. And so this was a really good idea. A really good idea. And it turned out to be a really good book. Safi, what's your general review? What do you have to say about Richard, his first cousin, and Slappy?
Well, I thought it was a very good book. I'm not really into reading this kind of book at all. Not even to look back as an adult and go back. But I enjoyed it. I thought it was very horror filled, and it was probably like on par with Twilight Zone or The Outer Limits, if you're familiar with those old TV episodic stories. And I'm used to reading cozy mysteries and just mystery books. I read a few a week, and I'm used to listening to books too. So that was different because in the past, a long time ago, when I would read the Goosebumps books, that was just me reading, thumbing through the book and reading out loud. Or like if I wanted to read one myself just for fun, that's what I would do. But we listened to this on audiobook, and I thought it was really, the story is very good and very mysterious and very horror filled, which is supposed to be like a horror story. Well, it's not so bad it's going to scare somebody and
it'll scare you.
Yeah, but it's not going to upset them where they're like it's violent, like it's horribly violent.
It'll scare you though, that's for sure. It'll scare you.
And compared to the X-Files show where the guy had his psychic powers, which caused a table to shove a guy into the wall and make a hole through it. I mean, this was nothing like that, but it was enough horror filled to scare you, and it was good. It was just, I thought it was very well done. It was very concise and to the point, and it was all about the story, which we emphasize that a lot when we're reviewing movies, especially that putting in all these agendas screws up the story. And people like to watch a movie with a good story, good characters and casting, and
well, and it seems like a common occurrence nowadays for things to not even tell a story and for you to have to come up with the story yourself.
That's the other thing. They'll leave out purposely big chunks of story, and then you have to piece it together yourself, which really is not your job.
Like, oh, am I the writer now? Pay me, bitch.
Yeah, really. So I thought it was very good, and I would give it an A, and I would recommend it. And
I would also give it an A.
Yeah.
I wouldn't give it an A plus because there were a couple of minor complaints that I have that I'll talk about in the spoilers.
Well, I guess one thing we can say in general, it's not going to hurt anybody. And since I have read so many audiobooks, which means I listen to them.
Oh, yeah, the audiobooks.
The person either... Sometimes the person who reads the book or usually when the books that I read, only one person is doing. And apparently, I think on this audiobook, 2 people are doing voices. And once in a while, there's somebody so irritating that I can't stand it, and I just refuse to listen to it. Or a new person comes in, like I'm reading a book series, and I've read like 5 or 6, multiple books. And then they get a new reader to read that, and they don't sound right. It just sounds terrible.
Let's mention who it is, Safi. It is this is a Slappy book. It's called Slappy and Dreamland. And but the thing is,
what's that?
The thing, I think we have a delivery, so we're gonna have to stop. But okay, let's just stop. And we're back. And the audio book. The thing is that we wanted to read the ebook because it's a short book. It's an ebook, but someone else was using it on Hoopla, and so we just got the audio book instead. And the audio book is almost 3 hours long. I don't know how it could be 3 hours long when it's such a short book, but it is. And the actor playing Slappy, named Perry, Him in the audiobook, he's really, really bad. I mean, he doesn't evoke Slappy at all. He sounds like a gay clown. He sounds like a elementary school theater teacher or something. Like, he sounds so bad. He's not scary. He's goofy. It's really bad. Like, and he's like, "You have to obey me, 12-year-old boy." And keep in mind, this Slappy, he is 122 years old officially. I saw when I have R.L. Stine's Masterclass, and he has a workbook, and it says in the outline for a Slappy book that he was born in 1920. So he is 122 years old, and for some reason he wants to enslave children. I don't know what he wants to do or anything. I still don't know his goal. I still don't know what he really wants to do and make the children do. Like, does he want the children to kill people for him? Does he want them to cause chaos? Like, I don't know. It's just very generic. And so you have this guy. What does he sound like, Safi? He's like...
I don't know.
He's like...
I don't care for it either.
"Richard! I've been watching you!"
Well, I'm not trying to do it because it's...
"Richard!"
Because you're a better Slappy than he is, so don't do it.
I'm trying to be bad, but I just can't be bad because...
Well, then don't do it.
Okay. "Richard! I've been watching you and your first cousin. You better obey me and eat that frog."
Don't do it anymore.
Okay. He's terrible. He's absolutely terrible. And it's like, the voice actor who voiced Slappy in the amazing TV show, he's still alive, so why don't you just get him? Pay him. Like, he has such a better Slappy voice from the TV show. The Slappy voices since the TV show have both sucked.
And it would have been the same sound because on the show it was all a voice thing too. So it would be if he was really good in the TV show, he would be just as good doing an audiobook.
It's the same voice. It would actually be cool too to hear like an older Slappy. Like if the guy is older in real life, to hear like a 122-year-old Slappy.
Well, yeah.
"I am Slappy and I need to take my insure." Yeah, okay. So we hated the Slappy actor in this audiobook. He was bad. He was really bad.
Well, he's definitely distinctive.
He was not scary though. It would have been fine though if he was just an original character, like if they did another book where he was the creepy drama teacher at an elementary school who, like, he seems like someone who would be good at playing a villain who's nice at first, and then you find out he's evil, like, like an ice cream man, or like someone you trust, and then, he's evil. He could even be like the voice if you actually did a sequel to Horror at Camp Jelly Jam. And if you did the counselor from the cover, that counselor who smiles, who, the artist, that was just his face that he inserted in there. He'd probably be good at doing that. It's just he is not Slappy. He is Perry, and that's the name of the actor. He's just Perry. He's not Slappy. So in terms of spoilers, you want me to take charge of the spoilers?
Sure, go ahead.
Well, there was some good foreshadowing. Right off the bat, the kid at school, Richard, he brings Slappy to school, and then the kids at school say, "Oh, you brought a dummy to school? You must be a dummy too." Dun dun dun. And so that's the twist ending. And the twist, I actually like the twist.
Yeah.
Because when in this book, when he defeats Slappy, the way that he does it is that he has his mom hook him and Slappy up to electrodes again. And he takes a nap, and he tells Slappy that he tells him the special summoning words in his dream. And then what happens is he's seemingly defeated. And I was going to actually complain about that at first because I thought that was stupid. But then it turned out they switched bodies. I thought that was great. That was a great idea. I don't know if that's been done before. It seems like an easy type of twist that you could have done before in a Slappy book. So I don't know, but this is really good in my opinion from what I've read. I've read a lot of R.L. Stine's twists, and a lot of them suck. And this was not one of them that sucked. I actually like this twist. So, there's some other notes here. I took some notes because with the regular books I've been having trouble remembering specific things. First cousin. Oh yeah, this is another Goosebumps book where they eat spaghetti at one point. Every Goosebumps book, they either eat Chinese food or spaghetti. Like, R.L. Stine has an obsession with spaghetti. And there's a good character trait that they added to Richard. It doesn't have anything to do with him and his first cousin. But Richard, he can't have pets because he's allergic. So Slappy is a substitute for a pet. And I thought that's a cool little addition, the fact that he's allergic. And so he wanted to have a dummy instead. What I thought would have been cool, surprisingly that they never did, is, okay, if he's allergic to pets, then Slappy could actually have him have a dream. Oh, shit. Slappy could actually make him have a dream where he is like surrounded by pets, or he's trapped in like he's trapped in the pound, or he's trapped in a vet office with all these pets running around, and he has like an allergic reaction. That would have been pretty scary. And then it's good, Slappy invading dreams. And then there was a good little dark dream sequence where Slappy is actually electrocuting and torturing Richard, and he thinks that it's his mom. So at first it's like, oh shit, is his mom torturing him with electroshock? And then it turns out it's Slappy, and I thought that was pretty dark, Slappy torturing him with electricity, and then he also strangles him, which I thought that was great, because obviously in the original Night of the Living Dummy, you have Mr. Wood strangling the dog until the dog almost died. But in this one, it's Slappy strangling Richard, probably because he found out about Willow. And there's, good dark moments. Wanted him to eat a live frog. Now I will say, that was a little flaw, because I kind of did want him to eat the frog.
I didn't.
And the reason is because, listen, R.L. Stine, listen. I've seen a lot of what you've said about these books, and you talked about, in the original The Girl Who Cried Monster, you talked about how the librarian was supposed to eat a little boy, but then he didn't, and so you made him eat little turtles instead.
Oh.
And in that book, Safi, the librarian picks up little turtles and he eats them, and he chews through their shells and crunches on them and then just swallows them whole. And he does that in vivid detail. And later on in the book, he actually goes home and he has an aquarium with snails. And he picks up the snails and he eats them too, crunching on their shells. And they're alive. They're all alive. It's not like he went off and killed them by, flushing them down the toilet or sending them to a funny farm. No, he chewed them whole when they're alive. And so you could do that back then. Well, nowadays you could have Richard eat a frog.
Yeah.
And it would have been so insane. it reminded me a little bit of the Chucky series, and that's where I'll get to the influences, because I did feel like with this book that R.L. Stine was influenced by the shitty Chucky series, and he saw that and thought that was funny that they did that. And he was also clearly influenced by Nightmare on Elm Street, especially part 2.
Okay, well, I don't know. I have not. I've seen a couple of. I think I've seen the first Nightmare on Elm Street twice in all of its existence, which is decades.
Oh, we can fix that, Safi.
Well, that's okay.
Can fix that.
But anyway, this is about Slappy invading the dreams of Richard, his cousin, and all the other kids in the class at a certain point. I just wanted to say that.
Yeah, and so I will talk about a few similarities at the end. But I have to say, like, Richard gets really stupid at one point where, you know, they always have to find an excuse for these kids to say the summoning words. And it's the same thing with Candyman, Safi. These idiots in those Candyman movies, they're so fucking retarded. They can't stop saying Candyman, 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 Candyman. And it's like, stop saying Candyman, you idiots.
That was the one thing that surprised me the most.
Yeah.
That it says don't read these words or you're going to bring them alive. And he's so, now they've already had several weird things happen because of this going to that sleep laboratory, which had some kind of effect on Slappy and his ability to get into your dreams. And so already they just not they have happened to both Willow and Richard. And so they find that paper, you know, the infamous little piece of paper with the magic words.
And Willow, his first cousin, says, what's this say? What are these words? And then Richard just blindly says, oh, it says blah, 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 blah.
And what happens? Nothing right away. But
she's like, Richard, you little dipshit. And he's like, oh, shit. Oh, my God, I shouldn't have done that. Oh, I should have just been like a normal person, not say those words.
That just really surprised me, how stupid.
Stupid.
That he was so stupid after having all those other things happen. The reason why I partially led to him saying those words without even giving it a second thought, which is kind of idiotic, was that he didn't believe it that he would come alive. And why? Why not?
There were better explanations in the Candyman movies, because in the first Candyman, it's about a woman studying myths, and so she thinks Candyman's a myth. In the second one, there's a teacher, she's teaching a class, and she says, you don't have to be scared of Candyman. Look, I'll say Candyman, Candyman. And then in the third one, there's actually a cult that is pro-Candyman, and they say it on purpose because they're a bunch of idiots. But yeah.
I just thought it was so... That's the only excuse, or whatever you want to call it, to give him for repeating those words so quickly and not even giving it a second thought. Was that he just didn't believe.
He was doing it to show off to his first cousin Willow.
Well, I just thought it was so dumb.
Yeah.
And then of course, and this happened at all the shows, the Living Dummy shows. Nothing happens at first, so you think, oh well, nothing happened. It's just, it depends on the story, how many seconds, minutes, or hours something else begins to happen.
And it's actually a really cool idea, because in the Nightmare on Elm Street movies, people talk about how, Freddy's just in the dream world. He's not in the real world too. But this is if Freddy was in the dream world and in the real world, so I thought that's cool. And then there's this bad part at the end. There is a bad part at the end, which I thought was very rushed, where the kid, Richard, he says that he tricks Slappy to coming to the sleep lab with him by telling him that if he'll come there with him, he'll get even greater powers. And I thought, you know what you should have done instead of this? You should have just done a scene where he does that. Because it's called show not tell. Show don't tell. And in that scene, you know, he's telling and not showing. Like, you're just like quickly in 2 seconds saying, I told Slappy he's going to get more powers, so he came with me to the lab. And it's like, just stop. Like, have a scene where he encounters Slappy. They have a conversation, and he tricks Slappy. Like, that would have been cool, like a little confrontation. So I thought that was missing. That was frustrating. And then some situations in the book were genuinely scary. Like, there's a sequence near the end where they almost get eaten by a tiger, and it was scary, number one, because it's a tiger, and all these kids are sleepwalking, and so the tiger could have killed all of them.
In his class.
But number two, it's also scary because, you know, in real life, those idiots would just kill the tiger for no reason. But the situations, some of them are written so generically that you can't really get into the scenes. Like, they're not really that descriptive. They're just kind of like, oh, the kids were sleepwalking, and they walked right into the tiger pit, and they're standing there in front of a tiger. And it's like, that's not really scary, is it? Like, in his old books, in his old Goosebumps books, he would go into vivid details about things, specific details. And I felt that was missing from this book. It felt like he had to pick up the pace and move things along, but it still was really entertaining. And for the couple of little references, since this Slappy and the kid with the frog, you know, that kind of reminded me of Chucky with the first episode where he wasn't supposed to eat the frog in class, but he was supposed to dissect it, and then he didn't dissect it, and so Chucky dissected it for him. Well, in this, it's something where he's supposed to eat the frog because Slappy is pulling on his legs and stuff because he's weird. I mean, Slappy is weird in this book. And there's also a sequence that was really funny because it was out of Nightmare on Elm Street Part 2. If you remember in that movie where Jesse is supposed to go to back to high school because the gym teacher saw him, and so the gym teacher forces him to go back to high school in the middle of the night, you know, night school, just like Slappy, and he forces him to go in the gym and run laps as punishment. And Slappy does the same type of thing where he takes the kid back to the high school gym and forces him to paint on the mural. And then obviously painting over the mural painting is kind of like a reference to Night of the Living Dummy 2, where in that book, the sister, she had a painting, and Slappy paints over that and ruins it. And oh yeah, we forgot to talk about the adults. The adults in this book were actually pretty good. You know, usually I kind of don't look forward to reading Night of the Living Dummy books because the adults in them are notoriously evil. And they're notoriously, like, really mean and abusive. And the kids will, you know, Slappy will do something little, like he'll just spill a glass, and then they'll blame it on the kid, and then the parent will, like, yell at the kid and abuse them and shit.
Well, they make them do big chores, and they didn't even do anything.
Yeah, and well, they really are mean to them, though. And it's like, you know, why did you even have kids? And in this story, the parents are actually pretty nice and pretty smart.
They're trying to understand.
And they're not really jackasses. Because, like, honestly, if the kids from this book were with the parents from the old Goosebumps books, they'd be dead. Like, those parents from the old Goosebumps books, they would have killed Richard and Willow right off the bat. They would have been dead. So I'm glad that the adults are slightly better. And obviously the Slappy going to a birthday party to perform there, that was in Night of the Living Dummy 2, the first one kinda. And then of course the stand-up comedy act, there was a really funny joke that was probably one of my favorite parts of the book, where he jokes, "Oh, Slappy, you love woodworking the best. That's your favorite school subject. You know why? 'Cause you want to build yourself a girlfriend, you loser." And it's funny because he accidentally, really roasted Slappy, because that's true. What does that remind you of, Safi?
The Living Dummy and the Bride of the Living Dummy.
Bride of the Living Dummy. Where he's obsessed with. They think. Oh, wait a second. No, it doesn't. Never mind. Oh, F. I forgot that in that book, the twist was that oh, gross. Oh, I forgot about that. Remember that, Safi?
Yes, Marco.
Remember that, where he
wanted a little girl.
He wanted
a real little girl.
He wanted the girl.
And the doll.
Oh God, I forgot about that.
That the little girl had.
Oh no.
Was mad because she thought should want her.
And Slappy was 80 years old when in that Bride of the Living Dummy book. He was like 80 something. So, okay, let's not talk.
I think we should move on.
Let's not talk about Bride of the Living Dummy anymore. Okay, so it was a good book, Safi, right?
Right, and I think we should wrap it up.
Well, that's what I was getting to. So, Safi.
So if you like this video, please press the like button and be one of our subscribers. We welcome all new subscribers with open arms. We welcome your comments.
Wooden arms.
Are you, if you're going to read this book, if you're interested, or your kids, having your kids read it, if you have kids, or you used to read the Goosebumps books, and you remember, and you've never read a Slappyworld book. Now, I don't know what the other Slappyworld books are like, but this one was a good one, so be on the lookout for it and try it out, just for fun. It's not that long.
Yeah.
I think reading it to yourself would take a lot less time. When you have an audiobook, it just takes longer because, for one thing, you had two people reading their lines, and it's kind of like a play in a way, and so it's going to take longer and be more drawn out than if you read it to yourself. And it's like that anyway. When you read out loud, it takes longer to read out loud than it does to read to yourself. So everybody, goodbye.